Greetings, Kindred. I am voivodemekhet, and this is another episode of Tapping the Vein. Thank you for joining me, Silent.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. You should. What time is it
It
exactly
is
as
it
of
is
recording?
it is currently 14:44 on April 6th, which makes me sad. I really wish it was April 4th as we were
You, I
recording
mean,
this. I'm not
I
going to
mean, we
lie
could
to
have
my
just
people.
we could have just said it was 1444 on April 4th, and they would
I'm
have
not going to
no idea that
lie.
we didn't.
I'm not going to lie to my
I
people.
listen. I appreciate and respect honesty. I live by. I'm an honest person, but you do it for the meme, my guy.
Anyway, the reason why that's so funny is because April 4th, 1444, was the night of the conspiracy of Isaac, which was when Claudius Giovanni decided to make his move with his co-conspirators to take out Japheth, Cappadocius, and the official foundation of the Camarilla due to the Cappadocians being attacked was when that occurred. So I noticed that while we were getting ready to start up, as Silent said he was getting his Halloween town on to handle this.
I I get my oogie
Get
boogie
your oogie
spookily.
boogie going. I am so
Yeah.
excited. I love the Hecata. I love Clan Zamitzi. Obviously, it's my favorite clan. But
Uh-huh.
like, if the Hecata, if the Zamitzi were not around, Hecata would probably be my favorite. I love
Yeah.
Clan Hecata. Yes.
I I have I don't know. I walk a weird road when it comes to Hecata, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in that the reason I said the reason I said I gotta get my Halloween town on is like when I'm feeling just them spooky vibes.
Uh huh.
I love the Hecata. Any other time, I'm like, they're
Eh.
there.
Eh.
Leave them or take them.
The Hecata have
Like
gone through the
how I
most changes
yeah
of
how I
any
feel about the
clan.
set types. How I feel about the set types 100% of the time is how I feel about the Hecata 50% of the time.
Okay.
Just they're there.
Well, I guess the best way of starting off with this, we are dealing with the Necromancers, the Devil Kindred, the
Yeah.
Lazarenes, the Clan of Death. Um, They were originally Clan Giovanni when they were brought into Vampire the Masquerade on a mechanic standpoint. It wasn't
Yep.
until later when Vampire the Masquerade got more interested in doing Dark Age themes and stuff like that, where we were introduced to the Cappadocians, which are the precursors to the Giovanni. And now they have evolved once again to Clan Hecata. But Hecata isn't just the Giovanni renamed,
Oh,
such as they were with the Cappadocians, because you got to admit the Giovanni are the Cappadocians. They are the exact same clan. They're just younger versions that have killed off their elders. That's what they are, right? I mean, am I stepping out of line with that, Silent?
I mean, I don't really know, to be honest with you, because just Augustus Giovanni is not a Cappadocian.
He
He
was
was embraced
embraced
by,
by Cappadocius.
yeah, but he's a caitiff. He doesn't have any of the clan weaknesses of the Cappadocians.
He did though.
Did he?
He did originally. All of the Giovanni originally suffered from the original clan weakness of the Cappadocians, which were effectively, if I've made a Dark Age supplement for Vampire the Masquerade for my own personal uses for 5th edition for Dark Ages. And what
Okay.
I basically said was,
How are
uh,
you holding how are you hold on.
yeah.
How are you holding out on me with that? How
I,
dare you?
I,
Okay,
ba-
continue. I'm sorry.
basically what I said was the Cappadocians suffer from interactions with humans
Mhm.
that are 2 plus their bane severity. But on top of that, they cannot activate the blush of life. They are always corpses. The end.
I like that.
That
I
is
like that.
that is the simplified way I had of doing that, and the Giovanni used to suffer from that too. In fact, if you look in the old Dark Age books, there was a 2-point merit for Clan Cappadocian called Giovanni, and it basically said that you were part of the Giovanni family. You still suffered from all the weaknesses of being a Cappadocian. The the clan curse did not change until the Lamia placed the curse on Giovanni and his childer, which basically gave them the kiss of the Lamia, which made it so that their bite was painful. It did not induce the kiss. which
Okay.
just kind of reflected their betrayal on the clan.
Right.
So
So I guess
yes.
we should maybe take a second because we're jumping into some pretty deep stuff like right out the gate.
Mhm.
And for anybody listening who's not familiar with the Hecata, that I, I can speak from experience. The clan can be very overwhelming when you start getting into it. There's a lot
They don't
of
have to be.
variances. They don't have to be,
They
but they
don't have to
can
be.
be. They can be when you start getting into the like the bloodlines and the
Bloodlines.
differentiations and the relationships and the named individuals, and it can get pretty tedious
There
to
is a
manage.
very deep history, especially for a
Yes.
clan that is technically, mechanically, not story wise, but mechanically, the youngest of the clans. Because they're new. These guys were invented effectively for V5. Because before this, it was just the Giovanni, who were your Godfather style Italian mafioso
Yeah. Yeah.
style
So
vampires.
what I was going to say was before we really break down into what the Hakata are in fifth edition, I actually wanted to look back at older editions and kind of like what you were doing, but starting with like first and second edition before Dark Ages came out, right? Your Giovanni were your Italian mafioso. Uh, well, they were necromancers, but they played on that theme of like the ultra rich being like into some really weird
Yeah.
occultish stuff, you know. And they really like they just have soaked all that in, and they just spread that kind of theme in earlier editions.
Mm.
Is you were the creepy, you were the like ultra elite,
Well,
ultra wealthy elite,
they also had the
but
whole keep the
weird.
money in the family old European
And they have a lot of
mentality.
things that are keep in the
Well,
family.
that's the point. Is they had the whole like keep the money in the family mentality, keep the blood in the family mentality, where they would only embrace members of their family.
Yeah, they
But
didn't just embrace members of the
because
family.
because of the whole like we keep it in the family mentality that was running around in with the Giovanni, there was a lot of rumors, and some of those rumors were absolutely true. But there was a lot of incestuous mentions
Uh-huh.
in Clan Giovanni. Um, but like it, I don't think it was as prolific as a lot of people thought it was. Like I'm definitely not saying that it wasn't there, but I think a
I'm not.
lot of that came from the whole oh they only embrace their own. Like they
Yeah. So that was the biggest confusing thing when getting into Vampire for me was when it
yeah
comes to the Giovanni was like, are they incestuous because they're incest? Are they cousin kissers or like
the
are they
answer
incestuous?
the answer
The answer
is
is
yes. The
yes.
answer is
They are.
yes.
The answer is yes to both of them. Is like, are they
But
cousin kissers? Yes.
they
Do
also
they only
did
embrace their living like family? Their mortal bloodline. Also, yes.
yes. But they
Um.
also reached out. We do have other families such as the Milliners
Yes.
and the
Yes.
Pisanovs and
So
the Putinescas and stuff like that that they reached out and married into
yeah.
legitimately. They would send their
Yes. Yeah.
mortal family members to marry into other families
Yeah.
that they found were useful.
Which is what I was gonna say was like it's when they say they're incest, it's in vampire terms, it's mostly because they only embrace their human bloodline.
Hmm. They do
But
break that. They do break into the other meaning of the word, however.
yes, they do,
Not
and
not as much, but there are examples of that happening.
there's no sis like they're not out there like kissing their sister, but like but like because they have, and the reason that this has been perpetuated as a stereotype for the clan, and a
Uh-huh.
really strange stereotype to perpetuate, really, is because like you said, they married into all these other families
Hmm.
to keep the wealth, to like bolster their own familial wealth and like grow their own influences and power amongst these like four or five families.
Yeah.
And it's all because like the really old members of these really wealthy families were like super rich merchants who
Hmm.
like ruled Italy, and then they spread out across the world, and they got the Duncern from Ireland or Scotland.
Yeah.
They got the Puttanesca, they got the all these different families that they married into, and they it's like what I imagine the Rothschilds would be in Vampire. It's like this super ultra rich familial conspiracy to just keep all the wealth within your
Yes.
family,
And
right?
it's really interesting that you use that as an example because have you ever heard of oh my god, names. I hate names. Okay, have you ever seen the movie Casino?
I have not.
Okay, the movie Casino is one of those based on a true story, not really, we changed all the names kind of storyline.
Gotcha. Okay.
Um and I think it's Al Pacino plays a character named Ace Rothstein.
Okay.
And that's what his character, which is based off a real person, mind you,
Hmm.
is where we get the Rothstein Giovanni line.
Oh, that
Like
makes so much more sense. Yeah.
he was basically a he was basically a an unofficial member of the Italian mafia based out of Chicago, and they
Okay.
sent him to Las Vegas because he was so well respected to
Hmm.
run all of their casinos. And pretty much
Nice.
everything that happened in the movie Casino happened in real life. Except
Okay.
for the fact that because he's the protagonist of the movie, they made a lot of the things that he did cleaned up, where he was actually a
Hmm.
lot worse of a person in real
Right.
life.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, because this was before people were like, yeah, let's watch a movie based on the bad guy. They
Yeah.
cleaned him up a little bit to make him a little bit more sympathetic. But there's a lot of things that happen in real life that instigated the different rich families that are brought into the Giovanni.
Right. And
So yeah, that's
well, to kind of further on what you were saying and wrap up what I was saying is
mhm.
the reason that they're seen as like cousin kissers or however you want to call it, is because after they've had these ultra wealthy families married, they married into them. Well, it's like, all right, well, technically that's your sister-in-law, but you're not blood, so you're gonna marry her to keep the wealth, so we don't have to worry about any like changing of wealth or like risk of losing wealth in the family,
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that the Giovanni don't care about that either.
I
I mean,
mean they
they
don't
like to keep it
now.
out of the public eye. They definitely
Yeah.
like to keep it out of the public eye, but there are
Well,
a lot
that's why
of
they
like
keep it. That's why
direct
they
blood
keep the.
relatives also.
Yes, yes. That's what I'm saying is like that was then, right? Like
Yeah.
now, it's like, you are marrying somebody with a different last name, but they
Hmm.
are somewhere down the family tree. They're
Yeah.
your cousin
Yeah.
somewhere, you know.
Now, now on that, we got this wonderful thing that we get to talk about first and foremost with the Hecata before we get to talk about with any other clan, because it doesn't exist yet with any other clan. I really hope it does at some point in time. But we have actual bloodlines for the family,
Yeah.
which is really, really cool because you can play a Giovanni
Yep.
still. You can play a Putanesca, you can play a Milliner, you can play a Rothstein, you can play like any of them, but there's other ones as well. I'm going to try to step away from the old name because it was changed for cultural reasons and stuff like that. But there are now I'm going to butcher this and I'm going to get yelled at in the comments. There's the Nacion San Ann, who are of a Caribbean line, who have been around for a very, very long time. They used to have their own discipline called Thanatosis, which
Yeah.
has now been wrapped up into
Oblivion.
necromancy, oblivion stuff. There's the Nagaraja, who are in no way related to any of them. They're actually, from what I remember, a Setite bloodline. Um, and then there's the oh god, there's just so many that you can actually choose from. There's the Harbingers of Skulls, which are now called the
Yep.
Harbingers of
Figures
Ashir.
of Asher. Yeah.
There's Cappadocian bloodlines and stuff like that. Like you can actually bring in where there's effectively the Hecata is the name of the clan, but it's also the name of a sect.
Yes. Yes.
So what are
Yeah.
your
So
thoughts
they.
on that?
Yeah. So I mean, what I to kind of like mesh where I was at, where I was started, and like where we're at now is like somewhere in the mix of all of these families being married in and then embraced over time
Hmm.
has resulted in just a multitude of bloodlines. And like I think next to the Gangrel, the Hecata have the Hecata have the most bloodlines next to the Gangrel, at
Yeah.
least in lore.
In V5, I mean,
In
they've
V5,
got the monopoly on it.
they have the only bloodlines in V5.
Yeah, there are a few bloodlines mentioned for other clans, but like they don't
Mentioned,
do
but yeah,
anything. They don't.
yeah,
There's nothing really special about them. Really,
yeah.
it's just it's
I mean,
another lore
and
sheet.
if you take the V5, like if you take it with none of the optional rules,
Hmm.
there's nothing really special about the Hecata bloodlines other
That's
than they're
true.
just lore sheets.
That's true. And
Now
I think what
they
you're
are the
getting.
only clan. You know, they're the only clan of V5. They don't have this in the player's guide. They did not port this over from the player's guide or from the Cult of the Blood Gods, but it is still in the Cult of the Blood Gods book. That if you take a lore sheet for an alternate bloodline, you can change out your disciplines
Yeah,
for that bloodline's
the original
original
clan
discipline.
disciplines. Yeah, and
They have
and
this weird thing in the lore where it's like all of these different bloodlines after the death of Augustus Giovanni, they're all of their blood slowly kind of like re-centered into what it used to be.
again,
Like all of their blood is unified.
I think that was actually because of the curse of the Lamia,
Yeah,
which we touched on a little bit earlier. Is that what they did? Is for some reason in V5 in Vampire the Masquerade edition in fifth edition, they made it so that the blood can only effectively hold one clan curse at a time, which is
yeah.
totally cool. I am so
I like
glad
that a
that you
lot.
are
Yeah.
not overcomplicating things by making, yeah, here are the Giovanni. They have the Lamia's Kiss and the Cappadocian thing. But basically,
Yeah.
what they did is when all of the families got together and started discussing, they realized that the Giovanni have the least handicapped clan curse. Because you had the Cappadocians who look dead. They're just
Yeah.
cadavers. That's it.
The
You
Harbingers who were skeletons.
You had the Harbingers who were effectively just skeletons. You had the Nacion San Ann who were rotting corpses, completely rotting
Mhm.
corpses, and the Lamia who spread plague when they bit,
Yep.
and the Nagaraja who when they had to feed they had to eat the internal organs and the flesh and everything else.
Mhm.
So making it so that everybody just it hurt when you bit was a logical way to go about things.
Yeah.
It was like the not the Lamia showed up and went, oh crap, we cursed these guys and they're better for it.
Yeah.
Like I can only imagine how hard they'd be kicking themselves when they realized that they actually helped the Giovanni more than anything else. But another thing on top of the whole clan weakness thing is discipline alignment.
Yeah.
Where originally in the story, Cappadocians had Auspex, Fortitude, Oblivion. Oblivion being Mortis, Necromancy, whatever else you want to
Yeah.
call it. I'm sticking with V5 terminology on this one. They have Oblivion.
It's just easier.
It is just easier. Because originally, Mortis was the power of physical death. The
Yeah.
Cappadocians had the ability to make things rot, produce plague from their breath, appear as a dead body. Like they had so many things that were physical, and the reason they brought the Giovanni into the family in the beginning, turned Augustus Giovanni into a Cappadocian at all, was because he had human necromancy, and they wanted to be, and Cappadocius really wanted to interact with the dead.
Yeah.
So the sepulchral path, the path of necromancy from the old editions that everybody took for granted, was it basically the path of blood for necromancy.
Necromancy. Yeah.
The thing that nobody ever wanted to take was the entire reason that household was brought in. Um, but then you had the again the Lamia or the Lamia who had path of they had the four humors
Hmm.
necromancy, which was basically control over the resonances of the blood.
Yep.
The Nagaraja, they had they had Auspex, Dominate, and Nihilistics, it was called.
Yep.
The Nacion San Ann had Offuscate, Fortitude, and Thanatosis with the option of learning Necromancy on the side. So, like, they all had all these different disciplines. The Giovanni had Potence and Dominate and Oblivion. That sounds like the Lasombra.
Yeah.
That, like, I think the whole reason that they changed the disciplines around to be the original Cappadocian disciplines is because they did not want two clans to have the exact same discipline trees.
I mean, yes, that is the
Like
meta reason
out
for it.
of reason, like out of character
Yeah,
reason. That's why they did that, in
yeah.
my opinion.
That's the meta. That's the meta reason for it. I'm almost certain.
Yeah, it
But it
just makes
also
sense.
the meta reason also is, I mean, that's a mechanical thing. I would say
Hmm.
the in world reason is like after the death of Augustus Giovanni, all of their blood returned back to like every member of the bloodline of that descended from Cappadocius
Yeah, and see,
returned
I say
to
anybody.
Cappadocius's blood with their flaw being with the Giovanni curse
Yeah.
basically spreading to everyone and replacing their own.
See,
Yeah.
I tell people who play at my table that if they're playing a Hecata, you need to decide whether or not you're playing a legacy Hecata
Hmm.
or a new Hecata. And legacy Hecatas, I say you were already embraced. Your blood is going to stay the same. If you're playing a Giovanni, you've got Potence and Dominate and Oblivion. Have fun. If you're playing a new embraced Hecata, like Dan of the Dead in Black Sheep,
Yeah.
you come in with the regular standard Hecata disciplines: Auspex, Fortitude, Oblivion. And it worked out really well that way because we had some characters that were older. We had some characters that were younger. And it made it so that we didn't have an entire game of people who just had the same three disciplines.
Right. Yeah, I like how they've I love the mechanical approach of making the variations of bloodlines lore sheets.
Agreed.
I love that because it not only makes sense from a mechanical standpoint, but it kind of makes sense narratively too.
Hmm.
Is like, well, what makes the main body Giovanni different from this little subsection of Giovanni? Well, it's like, well, their practices, their culture, their,
Yeah.
so I think that's a great approach. Um, Discipline wise, the Giovanni did experience a little change.
Okay.
Even if you go with Legacy Giovanni, their disciplines are still uh, they traded out Potence for Fortitude. So now they're
Yeah,
now they're
I was just saying at my table I allow them to take both if they want.
I gotcha. Okay.
It's a
Yeah,
house
so
rule. House rule.
sure, yeah. The base the V5 official like the official V5 is like they're like the edgy Ventrue now. It's like they've got Dominate and Fortitude, but they get instead of Presence, they get Oblivion,
Yeah.
which I think is a great discipline
Well,
spread.
also
You
if
mentioned
you
you mentioned the four humors of the Lamia. Did you notice that they made a discipline power based on that?
I did, and I
That's
like it.
really good.
I
It's a
like it.
fortitude power. Yeah.
Basically, what they did is they made it so that every clan, every bloodline, when they came and joined the Hecata, they brought something.
Yeah.
They brought something to the table, such as the ghost feast thing. Like
Hmm.
eating ghosts, that came from the Nagaraja. That was part of Nihilistics. Being
Yeah.
able to be ridden by ghosts came from the Nassian Sanan. That like I'm butchering that, and if there's anybody who actually has like knowledge on pronunciation of that, please go ahead and yell at me in the
It,
comments.
I think I know who you're. I think I know who that is
Well,
in reference to.
I'll just straight say
It's
it.
the
It's the
Zemeti, right?
Zemeti. It's the Zemeti.
Yeah.
They got rid of that because cultural stuff. They're trying to
Right.
be more cultural appropriate and everything like that, which I respect. And like I mean, I've gone on a few video tangents about like why are we taking this culture and turning it into a game without doing homework.
Yeah.
Like that's what pisses me off when it comes to that kind of thing. And V5 has done a great job like going out of the
They took
way.
the easiest approach to be politically correct, which
You kind of
to
have
each.
to if you're trying to get shit out. Like
I mean, yeah, if you want to be a successful business in today's society, you have to be politically correct. It's
yeah.
unfortunate, but it's true. I mean, it's maybe not unfortunate. It's just unfortunate that
Well,
some
it's
people.
true. Like you're right on the second part there. It's just true.
It's true. Yeah.
If you want to be successful, you have to do one of two things. You have to
I don't mean that it's unfortunate that you have to be politically correct. I just mean that it's like the reaction that people have is is pretty intense.
Yeah. Well, and
One way or the other.
yeah,
I'm not really, and I'm not picking a side there, but I'm just saying like, so in order to, they did the best thing, which was just remove culture from the equation
yeah.
and make
Or
each
another
clan
thing that
unique
they
in of
did is
itself.
they gave the suggestion of culture. They made it so that
Yes,
you didn't have to have the culture to play that
exactly.
character,
Which
but
is
if you
what I like.
wanted to, internet exists, go out and do some homework and come in and play a really good
Exactly,
culturally
exactly.
reflected
Yes.
character.
That's what I'm trying. That was what I was trying to say. I just
Yeah.
couldn't find the right words for it. But that's what I loved about the Banu Hakim
Yeah.
is that they did that for the Banu Hakim. They made it so much more approachable, and they've done that with the Giovanni as well,
Absolutely.
or the Hecata. Um, so for the new listeners, what would be your, because we've we've rambled on for like 15, 20 minutes about like what
Yeah.
they used to be. For the new listener, what's your sales pitch for the Hecata as they
Ah,
are today? How
I
would
love
you
them.
portray them? How would you sell somebody to play a Hecata if they were a brand new player, they're a brand new listener? Um, what would be your like summary sales pitch to describe the Hecata?
I mean, there's so many different ways you can do it. Like, you can play one of the various bloodlines, which they have wonderful descriptions on the lore sheets and stuff like that. If you want to check out my lore sheet videos, I've got a whole bunch. I'm probably going to end up be doing. I'm going to be doing a whole bunch more also until they're covered eventually. But there's so many different aspects you could take when you're talking about Hecata. But if you're just taking the bloodlines out of the equation and you're just playing Hecata, not a
Mhm.
Giovanni, not a Cappadocian, not anything else that had to do with one of the other various families in the background, just Hecata. Think about what death means in just the normal culture. Because you have an unhealthy obsession with death if you're playing a Hecata. Like, that's the way that the clan works. That's what plays into their compulsion, which we'll get to in a few minutes. But like a morbidity about it. And the idea that what do you want to get in life? Are you there to study different types of death? They're a very scholarly clan. And the idea for a lot of Hecata is being the last person there. They're not wanting to live forever. They want to be the last person to observe everybody else's passage. And there's so many ways you could do it. You could play the sympathetic. We had a death doula
Yeah.
in Black Sheep.
Yep.
Hattie was the oldest character in the game. She was actually from the Ness in San Ann, and she worked in hospice houses to make it easier for
Hmm.
people. And as a storyteller, the first thing that I did when she told me about that concept, I was like, okay, so you're going to feed off people who are already passing and give them a different passage. And I was like, that's going to be kind of interesting with the painful kiss thing. And she's like, no, I would never feed off people who are dying. Like, her character was literally there just to make it easier for people to
Yeah.
pass on. And there's a level of therapeutic beauty to that, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Like, death does not have to mean scary, it doesn't have to mean negative things. There's actually a whole community of people who actually are considered like the death positive movement, where we're not trying to make it a taboo subject to talk about. They're more there to make it so that people get the death they want because it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
So
We all die.
yeah,
Like
we're on.
it's a
So
painfully
I am
brutal
really
statement to.
sorry if we're the ones telling you this for the first time.
You're not gonna live forever.
You're not going to live forever, and I think that if I was playing a Hecata, I would understand that. I would not be
Yeah.
trying to hasten it, but even as a
No.
kindred, something's going to get you eventually. You're
Just
you're
because you're
you're going to
just
make
because
a
you don't age doesn't mean you're
yeah.
actually immortal.
You're not going to you're not going to die of old age, but a hunter's going to get you, or a rival kindred's going to get you, or the heat
You're gonna
death
get
of the universe. Something is eventually going to get this vampire. So finding beauty in it is something that you could really stop and think of. Like, when I think of a Hecata, I like to think of like the Addams family almost. Like
I absolutely love that reference. Yes,
these are
I just recently
people.
watched Wednesday, and it was
Ugh,
so good.
I cannot wait until the second season comes out for
I
that.
know it was so good.
But like being someone who's just like I am here to exist and experience as much as I can until I can't experience anything anymore. That would be the Hecata I would play.
Yeah, I like fair warning ahead of time. Silent's gonna get deep as he does. Um,
I'll
I
get a
re
shovel.
you yeah, you know that we recently had a death in the family.
Yeah.
Would have been a year ago last month, and while I was helping take care of that family member in their last few months, um, the Hecata really I was drawn to the Hecata during that experience.
Hmm.
Um, and so I do have a Hecata character who hits a lot of things that touches into that. Um, and I think that like kind of like you said, buddy, like there's like a poetic therapy to like facing and playing this clan for those themes of death and not like because it's very easy to talk about the Hecata as like oh the Giovanni and the mafia crime and money laundering and banking, but the themes of the clan really are about the nature of death and
Hmm.
undeath. um I really like the I particularly like the scholarly aspect of like i think um I think Beckett should have been a Hecata. That's a stupid take, I'm aware.
No, no, I
But like
actually I think that's fitting. I like it.
but he studies so much about kindred existence,
Hmm.
and like then like he seeks to understand not just their history but also the nature of their undeath,
Hmm.
like the limits of what they can do. And I think that's a really interesting concept that starts to kind of borderline on the path of death and soul, which makes sense considering that was made by the Giovanni,
Hmm. Well, Path of
or the
Bones.
Cappadocians.
Path of Bones
Yeah.
was made by Giovanni. The Path of Death and Soul was instituted by, I believe, the Harbingers of Skulls.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. So
Actually,
I
I
mean,
think I think Death and Soul is older than the coming of them. I think Death and Soul was created by the Cappadocians and adopted by the
yeah,
Sabbat.
it was the road of. I think it was originally the road of death,
Yeah,
and then became the path of death and soul. Um, in the Sabbat.
yeah,
But the ideas of pursuing that. I mean, to wrap up my ramblings and kind of hit off on the last real
yeah.
topic here. Um, if you're somebody who's grappling with death as something that you're dealing with or something that you're having, the worst part about death is not what it does to you, it's what it does to the people around you.
Yeah.
And if you're somebody who is struggling with that and you don't know how to seek help, try playing a Hecata. You don't have to play
It
them.
can
Just
because
write
yeah.
just write the character. Just write a character. Because it helped me a lot actually to write a character based around
Well,
the Hecata during that
that's
time period.
that's interesting that you put it like that too. I do want to point out that the reason they're called the Hecata is because they're named after the
I could
Greek god of magic and the
mhm,
crossroads.
mhm.
And the crossroads were a very large symbol of death, especially three-way crossroads, which is why we have the symbol called the Hecate on the top there, which is the three faces of the Hecata's symbol. It's the three faces of Hecate, who is said to be the goddess of a three-way crossroads.
I always heard that Hecate was the goddess of the hearth.
Um,
That could have just been one interpretation though.
that's Hestia.
Yes, okay. Maybe
They
I got him.
they
I may
sound
yeah,
very
yeah.
similar.
I just got him confused.
Hecate is usually depicted with either snakes, daggers, or a torch, because
Uh-huh.
she leads the way. And for people who practice like modern paganism and they use Hecate a as a patron goddess, she is said to come to people in their most difficult times and with her torch lead the way down the path. She doesn't fix problems for you. She's just there to be there for you and to show you the light. So
Gotcha.
I love the fact that the Hecata have this. I am actually very big on Hecate myself. I've got a Strophalos, which is her symbol, on my arm, which I'm showing very poorly right now. Um, and yeah, no, it's just a very interesting thing that they've chosen this symbol and this basically archetype of a deity to be the symbol for the clan of death. It's highly fitting, but I also think
Yes,
it
yeah, I
opens
agree.
up from it opens up from like I don't know, like the Cappadocians when
It
they
opens the door to playing a different theme of the necromancer.
it really
You
does.
don't have to be the you don't have to play the oogie boogie,
Yeah.
spooky. You can play the what's her name from Ghost Whisperer. Your character could be somebody that brings other people
Yes.
closure,
You could have your Jennifer Love Hewitt style character.
Oh,
Um
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
okay. Well, no. When they first brought on the Giovanni, we had these mafioso, secretive,
Yeah, yeah, and they put him on the
twice related criminal
yeah.
vampires. That was the Clan of Death. When you look into their history, we have the Cappadocians, who were, in essence, one of the first looks at what the Salubri were going to be. They were the good vampires. Like
Yes.
when you read like the early editions when they first introduce everything, the Cappadocians are all living in monasteries and they're living a quiet, pious life, and they're considered a high
Yep.
clan, but they keep to themselves and their scholarly pursuits in heaven and things like that. They were all on Road of Heaven or Road of Death,
Yeah.
and they're just trying to understand the world. With Hecata, it's more of a we can do anything we want in any direction that we want to. And I think I already mentioned Dan of the Dead,
Hmm.
Daniela from Black Sheep. Abelin's character was amazing. I loved. She was the pure Hecata. She didn't
Yeah.
have a bloodline assigned to her. She was playing a character who was like a ghost hunter on YouTube
Hmm.
and then just
Yeah.
found the wrong house. And,
Yep.
and I loved it because her character never stopped wanting to know.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
Oh yeah. I mean, the it when you have all these different variations in the lore, it presents this like unique opportunity to explore a multitude of themes with the clan as a whole.
Yeah.
And I had a thought and I completely lost it, but getting um, into the different themes and stuff that the clan has, like it's just there's so many angles and concepts that you could take with
Hmm.
this. Uh, I think they're really interesting in V5. Like I said, I like them, but then there are days where I'm just like, yeah, they're there.
Yeah.
Like
Well, I mean, they
uh,
don't. That I think the one big issue with them is they don't fit into the Camarilla. They don't fit into
yes,
the into the
yes,
Anarchs. They're their own
that was the
set.
next thing that was what I was gonna say, and I thank you for reminding me because I it was gonna bother me if I couldn't
Yeah.
remember.
But
Was
the
their
promise,
political structure.
the promise is almost over though.
It is. Want to
Now
see what
that's
happens.
if the promise actually had an end. Like I can definitely see the Camarilla signing an agreement saying, okay, you have 500 years to get your shit together. Like then you have to find out what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
I can see Augustus Giovanni agreeing to this promise because he would have been like, in 5 minute years, I can make a spirit nuke,
Yeah, and
you
he was
know,
ready to.
and he was ready to until he got,
He had
yeah,
until he got nixed. Now, so like politically, they're not part of the Camarilla. They're
nope,
not part of the Anarchs. They're
nope.
not part of the Sabbat. They're
They're
just
the
the Hecata.
they're the only true independents left.
They are, yeah. Which is, I think, is interesting that because, like you said, the name Hecata is not just the name they go by as a clan now, but they go by that's their faction.
Yeah,
They are the clan. They are the clan of death as a faction, as well as a multitude of bloodlines descending from one antediluvian. So talk a little because I know, and we'll get into the stuff in the book in a minute. I actually just want to hear you explain because you ran Black Sheep, which was an all Hokata game.
yeah.
what is it for myself and for anyone listening who's just curious? What is their like social structure like? Because this is still vampire,
Okay.
and there's these themes on family
So
that are really heavy.
the social structure within the Hecata.
Yeah,
Okay.
what's the political structure like?
Well, the political structure has gone through a lot of changes since the family reunion,
Okay,
which is so funny
maybe.
because everything that has to do with the Clan of Death somehow involves dinner. I've noticed that. Like we had the Last Supper, and now we have the family reunion, which was this massive dinner, which included like the human family as well as the vampire families. But like the social structure within, it's very interesting. There is a group called the Anziani, which literally means the elders, the
Uh-huh.
old people that you hold respect for. The the Hecata seem immune to the beckoning.
Yeah.
So I'm imagining the Anziani, or it. There's also another group called the 1444 Club, which is effectively a reference to the Last Supper, to the
Yeah.
conspiracy of. I keep wanting to say Isaac. Yeah, the conspiracy of Isaac. Um, those are going to be top elders of each of the bloodlines, in my opinion.
Okay.
You can kind of picture them as like the heads of the mafia families. These are
Right.
people who, even if they don't get along for one reason or another, they have put their differences to the side to sit down at the table and decide what is good for the family in general. And I don't believe that that portion of the Hecata should really be used in a game.
Shouldn't be
Um,
seen at least.
it should be a veiled topic,
Yeah.
if anything. I like the idea of the old Hecata who comes in, and like the old uncle from Europe
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Like in and I'm sorry I keep referencing old games, but I got to go off the experience that I have. But like
No, that's the whole
when
point of these.
when I ran Black Sheep and we were doing Lorenzo's origin
Yeah.
story, he murdered a member of the Anziani. That's how he got brought in, because the during the family reunion, I basically said that a bunch of the bloodlines were going, okay, we're gonna go take out all of the Giovanni. We're gonna take out the, we're gonna knock the Giovanni down a peg so that the other bloodlines can take seats in the 1444 club. So it's not just the Giovanni who control everything. And in my opinion, the Giovanni are effectively bottom rung of the social standing in the Hecata. They are allowed to do social interactions with other kindred. I think for a while there that the Giovanni were being used as frontmen so
Yeah.
that the other clans didn't know that this thing
Yeah.
was happening. That the Giovanni let them the Giovanni were basically allowed to start putting out there that they're rebranding as Hecata and not just Giovanni. That there are going to be some social changes within the family, but it's not going to affect the other groups. You know,
Yeah.
like I think the Giovanni are basically just the public image
Yeah.
of the Hecata, and that is it. They have no social standing. They like the way that it's explained, at least the way that I understood it, was when the other clans got like when the other bloodlines got back and took out all of the elder Giovanni that were involved. That's when everybody realized that, oh wait, these younger kindred in the Giovanni had no idea what the hell happened. These younger Giovanni were not involved at all in the purge of the Cappadocians
Yeah.
or the attacks on the Nassin Sanan. Like they were not involved. They just have the name. And where you're going to have those petty elders who are going to be like, "Oh, I hate them. Let's kill them off anyway." There's also going to be those ones that are like, "Yeah, but they also have those social connections. We want their influences."
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, that's what the Giovanni offer. Wealth.
exactly.
They are the. I mean, I don't know that I can say maybe internally they are the lowest string,
Mhm.
but they're the ones that hold all the money and the influence. Really.
And they can, except for the fact the milliners are actually ones that hold all the money now. They're
Well,
the
they're
ones who
they're,
do the
they're a part
accounting.
of the Giovanni. They're a
They're
Giovanni
not
brother.
anymore.
What?
They're not anymore. Since the family reunion, all of the families that were attached to the Giovanni in some way
Hmm.
took advantage and separated themselves from the family that was holding them in their places. That's the reason why the family reunion was able to succeed as well as it could, because the Giovanni didn't have as much support as it thought it did.
Okay.
They lost their criminal backings with the Putinesca.
Yeah.
They lost their high understanding of ritual basis from the Pisanob. They lost their money from not only the Duncerns but also the Milliners. Like the oil refineries was pulled out due to their connections with the families that they had in the Middle East and stuff like that. Like there were so many just, oh, by the way, we're taking all your shit and there's nothing you can do about it, to the Giovanni that happened, that the Giovanni are literally just there so that the outside Kindred world do not know that something is happening.
Right. So I know that the reference is a little askew. This reference I'm about to make would probably have been a better reference to have brought up during last week's video.
Okay.
But the way you've described just the higher echelons and like the way at least I kind of interpret the things you said about how to portray them as a storyteller makes me think that I like if I was going to run a game about the Hecata, I
Mm-hmm.
would run it almost exactly the way like an entire if I was going to do an entire chronicle of Hecata politics only in a exclusively Hecata city, I would run it like the high table of John Wick.
I mean, the high
Does
table
that
of
makes
John Wick works very well for any sect, really.
sure,
Like
but
it
like the idea
that's a I look at that and it's like, oh look, the Camarilla. Um like
yeah,
with
I mean
all of it.
you can use it as anything like that, but it's like everybody knows everybody who's involved,
Mhm.
family, right? It's like the and everybody respects each other's like business.
Mhm.
They try not to. It's against the rules to work on company grounds. It's against the rules to work in family on family property, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I could see it being very similar. I mean, like you said, any sect could really be that way, but
Yeah.
I think it works really well for like the exclusive kind of the exclusivity and independence of the Hecata
There
of like
definitely should be a
like
set
and
of
the
rules.
reason that I say that the high table from John Wick for the Hecata specifically over like the Camarilla
Mhm.
is that like the in my mind the Camarilla is like it's not just the assass like for this like analogy it's not just the assassins, right? It's the Camarilla would be like the mayor's in on it and the all the precincts are on the payroll and like all these things, right, would be like the Camarilla, whereas like the Hecata is like no, we have our select few people who are in the know
Mhm.
and we operate within the illusion of the rules exclusively to ourselves and nowhere else with no one else.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel like the high table worked too, was like
Um
you've got the Continental and the assassin, all the hitmen go to the Continental and socialize with one another, and you've got these people in like the back of libraries, and you've got like the the doctor in the back of a vet clinic who's
no,
stitching
absolutely.
job and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And I do have a very good example for you here. It's something that I was not 100% sure on whether I was going to put it here, but screw it. Um, the actual mafia is called the Casa Nostra, or the Casa Nostra, and they have 10 rules. And I really do see like where you have like the six traditions of the Camarilla,
Mhm.
these 10 rules should be followed within the Hecata, because the Giovanni ruled for 500 years.
Yeah.
They were so good at what they were doing that they weren't noticed by the Camarilla, the Sabbat, the Anarchs for 5 centuries most of the time. Usually, if they
Yeah.
got pulled into somebody else's politics, it was because somebody else came snooping in the wrong place.
Yeah.
So, let me read these real quick. All
Sure.
right. Um,
Are these like real world?
these are real.
Okay.
These these are real. Let me get these up because these are actually like from they're called the Mafia Commandments. Okay.
Okay.
So it's one, no one can present himself directly to another of our friends. There must be a third person to do it. So the idea of having an integration mediator.
Yeah.
Never look at the wives of a friend. So I would say you could probably switch that to never look at like the retainers of a friend, like ghouls and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never be seen with cops. I would say that's more like never be seen with Camarilla or something like that. You
Yeah.
know, like there, you definitely want to change these.
Of
Don't
course.
don't go to pubs or clubs.
Don't go to
Uh,
Elysium's.
exactly. Always be available for Cosa Nostra is a duty. Even if your wife is about to give birth, you are on call. Six is appointments must absolutely be respected. If you have to be somewhere, you are there. Seven, wives must be treated with respect. So again, with the way that they are
Hired
spoken about, I
elders.
really see this. I kind of actually see this as your ghouls and stuff should be treated with respect in public.
Okay.
Because they treat their wives and stuff like this. They do what you tell them to do, but you treat them good in exchange. Um, Eight is when asked for any information, the answer must be the truth. So never lie to the family.
Okay.
Nine is money cannot be appropriated if it belongs to others or other families. So in other words, don't rob from the family.
Yeah.
And then 10, people who can't be part of the Cosa Nostra, anyone who has a close relative in the police, anyone with two timing relatives in their family, anyone who behaves badly and doesn't hold to their moral values. Those are just like people you cannot bring in.
Okay.
So those rules right there are effectively how you should treat the Hecata, in my opinion,
Okay.
because like, and that's the way that I see it. If it's like a compound, you've got a household of people who are all working together. This clan is close. They are mafioso. You know,
Hmm.
like the Giovanni are not in charge anymore, but there's 500 years of proof that their way of doing things worked.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. I
know,
agree.
which is why we still have the Anziani, which is why we still have the 1444 Club. Like, the Giovanni have had an undeniable effect on how the Hecata have been formed. And now it's like the rest of the necromancers in the world of darkness are just cosplaying Giovanni. Anyway, anyway, that is my whole thought process on the whole thing. But we need to get into Banes and
Yeah.
stuff
I will
because we've
say very
already been
cool.
talking
Very
for an
cool. But
hour.
let's wrap up the book real quick. I mean, the Hekata have so much to talk about
They do.
that
I'm not surprised this is going to be a long video.
yeah, well, I was gonna say I don't see why we have to. I could see this video only going for like an hour and a half and it still being a good video, even if we
Oh hell
didn't
yeah,
talk about the books, because there's just so much to talk about with the
yeah. But I
Hekata.
want to cover the crunch too.
Oh yeah, no, get into
Uh,
the crunch, man.
all right, so Bane, we have the Hecata inflict a notorious painful kiss. The fangs of the Lazarines bring not bliss, but agony. Victims caught unaware will violently resist unless restrained. The few people submit willingly to the torture that is the Hecata kiss. When drinking directly from a victim, Hecata may only take harmful drinks, resulting in blood loss. Unwilling mortals, not restrained, will try to escape, and even those coerced or willing must succeed in a stamina plus resolve test against a difficulty of 2 plus the feeder's bane severity in order to strain against the pain. Coerced or willing vampire victims of the Hecata uh, must make a frenzy test against a difficulty of 3 to avoid falling into a terror frenzy. So, um, that sucks, and it's a lot better described than the old Giovanni, like
Yeah,
than just the old
yeah.
Giovanni clan flaw.
This is one of the few examples where your bane severity doesn't actually impose anything on you.
No, 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 no. That's yeah, no. It just makes the difficulty of someone trying to strain against the pain go up.
Hmm.
So, which
Um,
can
is
be bad.
is is this is from the player's guide, right?
This is from the player's guide. Yeah.
Okay, so there's actually a change then in the cult of the Blood Gods
Oh
book.
no! I just realized
Yeah,
something. Did
what's
we?
that?
We didn't go over alternate banes for the Banu Hakim.
Oh, we didn't.
Oh, I guess we're gonna have to do a sequel. Anyway, so
I mean, we can record it. We can record us going over it and then throw it in on that
yeah,
one,
I guess we can. Yeah,
and
it's
just
gonna
cut
look
this part
awkward.
out. Yeah, it's fine.
I mean, I'm probably gonna leave this in because we make mistakes. But yeah, no. So what do you think about the painful bite?
The painful bite. It's what the Giovanni have historically always had in the systems.
Hmm.
Um, the Bane did change between Cult of the Blood Gods and the Player's Guide,
Did
however.
it now? What's the original?
I believe so. Um, okay, maybe I was wrong. I for whatever reason I remember reading that the Hecata Bane dealt additional superficial damage to
Mm,
the victims you drank from. I swear I remember reading that, but when I'm pulling it up here and I don't see it again. So maybe I just made that up in my head. I don't know.
the Hecata cleaned it up so that you can prove it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that must have been what happened.
yeah.
I don't know why, but I seem to remember the Bane saying that like because it didn't used to say you could only take harmful drinks. It said whenever you feed, they take additional superficial damage
I
for
mean
every point you drink,
that
plus your
makes
Bane
sense.
severity. Like I
It
know I didn't just make that up. That's too specifically worded to have just made up, but it may have been updated in the Cult of the Blood Gods book. Maybe got an update and I
maybe
didn't realize it. I don't know.
maybe they have updated a couple of the books that
Yeah,
have had issues.
but
Um, so
no, I think the Bane's good mechanically. I think it like I said, it's one of the few examples in the game where your Bane severity doesn't work
doesn't
against you.
effective. Yeah.
Doesn't actually affect you specifically.
Hmm.
Which I mean, if you're playing a morbid enough character, you don't.
You might
I mean,
enjoy
you
that.
don't have it.
Yeah.
You don't even have a Bane anymore. Like
True.
you know,
And this
humanity
doesn't
5 and
stop
lower, you
you.
don't care.
This doesn't stop you from doing things like lancing and other stuff that would allow you to feed
Yeah,
without that.
you could be like the thin blood with the scalpel. You
Yeah.
know,
But arguably, you can't lick the wound closed if you do that kind of thing.
I mean, if you do that, yeah.
Yeah.
But then what's there to hide? It's just a cut on somebody.
Very true. Very true. So the alternate Bane, the Bane variant for the
Hmm.
Hecata is decay.
I like this.
The Hecata connection to death and entropy caused them to practically radiate decay, slowly eating away at things both living and inert in their vicinity. Their havens turn decrepit in a matter of nights. Plants wither around them, and even more mortals grow haggard and sickly from prolonged exposure. Some Hecata come to terms with this, making do with a dilapidated havens and few, if any, mortal servants. Those who don't must spend considerable time and effort to keep their assets from decaying around them. Hecata vampires suffer additional dots and flaws equal to their bane severity, uh, divided as they see fit among retainers, havens, and the resources flaws. Uh, these can either be taken at character creation or bought off by paying twice the amount of background dots. In addition, purchasing dots in these advantages costs an additional amount of experience equal to their Bane severity. That is rough.
I love it though.
That is so good, but it's so rough.
It's so brutal mechanically, but also it makes so much sense as to like why the Hecata favor money,
Yeah.
and they just stay in their own lane, constantly doing their own thing.
Hmm.
Is because they're constantly keeping up, having to keep up with their curse.
I can see that. Like this curse is incredibly debilitating.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
massively.
I don't know anybody who would want to take this
No,
over the.
but it's definitely a fun situation if you're in a
It
game
would
that
be a lot of
calls for
fun.
that kind of thing.
Now, if you're playing something like if you want to take like the repulsive flaw,
Hmm.
and you want to play Hecata with the repulsive flaw and take that variant and just like get your Necromancer and Nosferatu vibes going,
Hmm.
that could be fun. That could be a lot of fun.
Very true.
But I
Uh,
can't see too many people wanting this flaw over. Again, this is a flaw that your storyteller may want to swap out for the main one if feeding is not a prevalent topic
yeah,
in
yeah,
your games.
very true.
However, however, this Bane really makes it difficult to play up the wealthy, um, like
Well,
mafioso.
you're definitely stepping outside of the concept of the Giovanni.
Yeah.
Like when you take this kind of thing.
Well, I mean,
This
yes,
would be
yes, yes
fun.
and no.
This
Yes
would
and
be
no. I mean, if you
fun.
think about it, right? Like you've got a you've got a character, a Hecata in the story with this Bane, and your your players here talk about like this mafia guy. He's real bad. He's real bad news. Like people like the dude's just got a just something not right about the guy.
Hmm.
Like people who get caught up with this guy, they eventually get like they all die eventually. Like they all like they work for him for a little while and then eventually like they get sick and die.
Yeah.
And they don't know if he's like wrapped up in like some kind of like chemical smuggling or
This is
like
a
just
character that should
something.
live in Gary.
Yes, yes,
This is a
1000% yes.
Gary, Indiana character.
Yeah. But I mean, so like you could really like play it up and like have like I mean, the venture in Chicago, the big guy, what's his name? Um
There's a lot of big venture in Chicago, man. What are you talking about?
no, like the physically big guy, like the large gentleman who's a venture, and I cannot for the life of me think of what
Ballard?
his name is. Ballard, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You have like you could really get into some like creepy, like big heavy dude with like just everything around him. It like looks like it's designer, but it's like
Falling apart.
uh falling apart. Like
Yeah.
his clothes are kind of like falling apart at the seam. Like scenes are unraveling. Like he's got tarnished jewelry, and there's just something like
Yeah.
not right about that guy.
This
Like that could be a fun character
this
to
is the kind of
portray, or
Bane.
like maybe an NPC. But
Yeah. This is the kind of Bane that I would definitely take twice cursed.
ooh,
Like if this was not a flaw that's set in the game, I would like this just to be this one character suffers from this.
okay, I
Like
could see that.
this is very much a unholy aura
Yeah, I
kind
was
of
gonna say
situation.
this makes me think of like two or three flaws from older editions of the
Yeah.
game. There's the
Touch of
cold
corruption.
touch of death, where like and like cold, what was it, cold breeze, or what, the breeze of death or
Yeah.
where it's like everywhere you go, like there's a
Plants die and
cold
stuff.
plants die and there's a cold breeze that blows and like people just feel chilled and unnerved around you. Like
Yeah.
that's what this makes me think of.
Um.
This would be good. I think this is a good flaw for like you said, a twice cursed character.
Mhm.
I think it's easier done if it's an NPC who has to
Yeah.
manage things
Could you
than it is
imagine
a
playing
player.
that
Oh my gosh.
has this Bane and also has the like you're rotting flaw.
Oh man.
Like they're rotting and everything around them rots. That would just be a fun character.
This there is something that this makes me think of, and maybe it's just like
I
an
really
old
want to play an
folklore.
Oblivion Thin Blood now.
It's fun. There's a is it I can't remember to distinguish between whether it was like an old movie that I saw or if it was like an old folklore thing that I read. But like, isn't there like a wasn't there somewhere a myth that like you'll know a vampire because things around them die and decay?
Oh yeah, no, that I think that was Dracula and stuff that did that kind of
Was
thing.
it? Okay.
Yeah, I think that
I
was
couldn't
something that
remember.
Van Helsing talked about.
Okay, I couldn't remember for certain. But yeah, that's what this makes me think of too, is like the old like this old
Yeah.
mythology of like
Well, it kind of fits in
vampires
with the
are
whole.
death.
It kind of fits with the whole like crops are dying and the milk, the cows give spoiled milk in the morning and the horse
Yeah,
sweats and stuff like that, like
yeah,
that kind
yeah.
of thing, like old world mythology.
Yes, yeah, it gets into that old European mythology of like vampires are unnatural, they're walking death, you
Hmm.
know. They bring death wherever they go, and even you know, even the inanimate objects and the animals die around them and that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Now, past the bane, we have the compulsion, which is a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
This one's
Morbidity.
interesting.
I
This one
like
is interesting.
I like morbidity. The vampire experiences an immediate need to move something from life to death, or vice versa, in any action not dedicated to ending or resurrecting something. It takes a 2 dice penalty. This subject doesn't have to be a person or even a living thing, but can include objects or even more abstract things, such as an idea or a conversation. The compulsion lasts until the vampire manages to kill or return something to life, either figuratively or literally.
This your reading of this compulsion just inspired me for three different characters.
Okay.
The last one that came to mind is a critic, a Hecata critic.
Okay.
You are responsible for killing careers or starting them,
See,
like
and that
bringing
counts
careers
as
to
a
life.
good concept.
Yeah,
Reinvigorating careers that
yeah,
are dead.
yeah.
Like this is actually a lot of fun. This kind of
Um,
reminds me of the movie theater that's actually near my house that has decided to start playing like old 1950s
yeah,
movies.
yeah,
Like
exactly, something like that.
the
You
Hecata
know,
are everywhere.
whether you're a like whether you're a news critic, an art critic, like theater critic, whatever you are,
Yeah.
like you are, and you're just this morbid and like you are somebody who like in the who genuinely enjoys what you do, but in those moments of morbidity, you just get consumed with the desire to I'm gonna end your career right here, right
Hmm.
now, or man, wouldn't it just out of morbid curiosity, wouldn't it be fun to see what this old timer would do if he got back in the limelight? You
See,
know, just to play with people.
I
Like
feel that
so sick.
morbidity has changed
Okay.
from Cult of the Blood Gods.
It might have. That
I
might have
don't
been
feel
what it
like
was.
it's the same thing. I really wish I had the book in front of me right now. I don't want to get
I
up
do.
and get it. I'm very lazy. Oh, you have it?
I have it here,
Can
yeah.
you dig
Uh
up morbidity and just check to see if it's the same?
yeah. Da, 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 da. You want me to just read it?
Yeah, please.
So the Hecata are possessed of a peculiar curiosity paired with a detachment from compassion and empathy, likely due to their frequent dealings with corpses and wraiths of those who died tragic deaths. Their blood urges them to study the individuals around them for signs of illness, frailty, or impending death until they have either predicted a death without supernatural means or solved the cause of a local one. The vampire suffers a 3 dice penalty to other roles until the scene ends. Note that their conclusions do not need to be absolutely correct, but should stay within the boundaries of the possible. That is very
I
different.
freaking knew it. Like I'm not mad at this because I actually like
No, I
both
actually like this
versions.
more. I like this version more.
Do
The other
you?
one was yeah, the other one was way too specific and far too difficult to role play.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Like
that's
just
probably
being
why they changed it.
yeah. No, I like the new one. I like the players got which they did say like some things changed.
Yeah.
from one book to
That's
the
so
other.
interesting.
And like some of the powers changed too, and
Yeah.
they were like, yeah, no, we changed the, like, use the new versions. The old versions,
Well,
they changed their names too. So it's like, we didn't errata anything, but if you
the
prefer the newest release, then those are
the
the
old
active
powers
powers.
also that were in Path like Cult of the Blood Gods,
Uh-huh.
they shoehorned plotline.
Yeah.
They did not have I feel weird saying this. They did not have practical everyday use necromancy.
No, they did not.
They just had we need this because it's important for the story, sticks and bones.
Yeah.
And I like what they did. And I haven't said that like the powers that are located in sticks and bones aren't available. Or sorry, the powers that are in Cults of the Blood Gods aren't available. But I do tell my players that like the storyteller guide or not storyteller's guide, the player's guide has
Players
a
guide.
lot more practical use necromancy.
Yes.
And
Yes.
most of my players prefer what's in the player's guide over what's in Cults of the Blood Gods.
Yeah.
And like I can't blame them for that. It's a lot
I
better.
I I'm weird about things. Like, I'm it's a 50-50 for me. I'm either going to canonically always use the thing that came first if I like it more.
Hmm.
I'm just always going to use the thing I like more. Like, that's always going to be my
Yeah,
baseline
yeah, and
canon.
it's up to
I'm
the storyteller on that one to let you do that.
I am going to forget about the other one as soon as I have converted the one I prefer to memory. Like,
Oh, really?
if the old yeah, no, as soon as I've converted one to memory, like, that's why I remember the Bane being different, because I'm
Well,
like, I remember it being very difficult to, like, keep your victims alive.
with the way that V5 works, where there's like 4 level 1s, you
Yeah.
know, like 4 level 2s, 2 level 3s, like that kind of thing. I don't care if there's multiple versions of things that might just even be just slightly different. Like, you found a more rare version of a power. Good job.
Yeah,
Moving
that's
on.
fair.
Like
Yeah.
there's like in the older versions where it was like, oh no, there's a level 1, there's a level 2, there's a level 3. Like there
Yeah.
are no variations.
Yeah.
I would be a little bit more off on that.
I'm less picky about it when it comes to disciplines.
Yeah.
I'm gonna convert the one that I like the most to memory, and then I'm gonna forget. Like, I'm still gonna forget about the other ones
Yeah,
for the most part.
the bane is 100% locked in place though. Like
Yeah, yeah, and
I don't move around on that.
this new compulsion's not gonna go anywhere for me now, because it just reading this for the first time. That was the first time I'd read this one
Yeah.
from the player's guide. I typically skim over the Hecata. This was the first time actually reading it, and it inspired two or three concepts immediately.
Yeah. So
And
well,
that right there,
obviously that compulsion's better then.
that's obviously the better compulsion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if
Um.
you can read the flaw of a clan and go, I want to do that, that's a
Yeah.
better flaw.
Yeah.
Like you want to play
I
to lose.
exactly. The first thing that came to mind was a concept of, like, this is less fleshed out than the other. This is more of like a character and less of a concept, I guess. But, like, the character who, regardless of what he is and what he does in the coterie, like, when he gets mad, aka his morbidity kicks in, he gets angry,
Hmm.
and he's like, I don't want to deal with any of you. I need to go kill something. Or vice versa, to get really, like,
Oh
morbid
my
about it.
god.
He's like, I don't want to deal with any of you, and then leaves, just silently gets up and leaves,
Oh
goes
my
back to
god.
his home, and just raises a bunch of zombies to make himself feel better.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a story for you.
Okay.
You're gonna love this, I think.
Okay.
So, I used to work in an art store.
Okay.
I was a manager at an art store. I had a lot of sections under my control. I was in management there, and my boss was an idiot.
As they typically are, from
And
my
I'm gonna
experience.
looking right in my camera. I hope you're watching this, you moron. Like working for her was probably one of the worst things. Like I'm not a supporter of J.K. Rowling's or anything like that. But this person was in real life Dolores Umbridge from the Harry
Oh
Potter series.
no.
I'm not kidding. She had a ridiculous obsession with cats. She was massively cruel, and she destroyed books for an art form. I could not stand this person.
Okay. I don't know
Like,
who she is, but if I want her to get really close to the mic, because I can't look at the camera. I hope you're listening, moron.
Anyway, so I worked for this person for several years. And one day, one of the things that I was in charge of were public events and doing things there. And I had to move a folding table that was just stacked full of heavy stuff. And me and one of the employees were just like, okay, let's just do this. We'll go grab some shopping carts. We'll empty the darn thing. We'll move those shopping carts where they need to go. We'll grab the table, move it where it needs to go, and we'll basically get this area cleaned up for the event that we need. She refused to let us clean off the table.
What?
She's like, oh, it's all sturdy and everything. Just pick it up and walk it. She would not let us. Like, she fought with us tooth and nail about doing it. It would have taken less time for us just to do it properly than moving it the way that she wanted us to, like, or arguing about moving it. But she's like, no, do it like this, and she grabbed it, and the other guy was holding on to the edge of the table. She pushes me out of the way, grabs it. She's tiny, and it nearly collapses over under her weight. So she starts struggling. I reach over and grab it. I've got a horrible back as it is. Weird side story I'm not going to get into right now on that one. And the legs of the table become unlocked and collapse in on themselves.
Uh-oh.
I cannot physically put this down without making a huge mess and breaking a bunch of incredibly expensive art equipment. So that happens. And another one of the employees, like, thinks fast, slides under the table, gets everything fixed up, and she's just sitting there laughing. And she's like, I guess you were right. I looked at her dead in the face that day, and I don't think she understands how close she came to death. Okay, I started suffering from the compulsion morbidity at this point. I looked at her dead in the face and was like, I'm going to go get lunch right now. Because if I don't eat meat, I'm going to bite your face off. And she just laughed and walked away like it was nothing. I threatened my boss. Like, that's a termination offense. I should have been fired. 100%. But I was so angry at that point in time. And this is why I'm saying this. This is me before I went vegetarian. And I know this is 2 episodes in a row that I've mentioned this now. But this is me before I went vegetarian, where if I ever got mad at somebody, I needed to eat meat. Because it was either the burger that was going to go down, or it was going to be that person. Like, and that was like, that's the most prominent example of me suffering from that. But I remember for the longest time me going, if something doesn't die to calm me down. If something doesn't die to calm me down, someone is going to die to calm me down. It's so horrible. It's so horrible. But like I remember this. If I don't go to lunch right now, I'm going to jail. And she just laughed and she's like, "Have a nice lunch," and walks away. And I was just like, I hate this person to the point where I'm rethinking what I need to eat for lunch.
First of all, she sounds like a psychopath. Second
Oh,
of
she
all,
was nuts. I literally got video of her trashing displays in the store, like throwing temper tantrums, kicking things, knocking over displays. I got video on my phone of her doing that. I don't anymore, unfortunately, but I had video on my phone of her like freaking out because I was like, if you come near me, I'm showing this to your boss. Like, I will send this to the home office if you come near me.
I don't know why, but after you said like the part about like you either need to kill somebody or eat meat,
eat
and
face.
Like, and now I'm a vegetarian. I just immediately in my mind I heard Morgan Freeman, and that was the day that 17 people lost their faces because my cat refuses to eat a cheeseburger.
I've been so much better now. Like,
but yeah, you're not eating. You're getting your daily dose of cannibalism in now. It sounds like. I'm kidding.
But no, I can absolutely feel this compulsion, and I feel like I've dealt with it in real life.
Oh yeah, everybody's had a little bit of morbid. Like, you ever just thought about like what would happen if I just swerved lanes real fast?
Up
You
on the
know,
up on the sidewalk, thump thump thump.
that's terrible.
It
But like
is. It
the
is.
the morbidity is a thing that all humans really do deal
Yeah.
with. But I think that in the sense of like a character of the Hecata clan, like how creepy is it? That,
Uh,
like, how creepy is it if like your coterie, like de facto coterie leader is Hecata, and like everyone's bickering and fighting, and he just turns around, goes down into the basement, comes up with two body bags, and then raises them right there in front of everybody just to shut you up. Or like you could get really
I like
dextery
that.
with it.
I
You can
like
get
the
really
idea.
you can get really dextery with it, right? And it's like you have somebody who's like, I have the urge to do morbid things, but like I don't want to be a bad person,
Hmm.
so I'm just gonna kill killers. I'm
Yeah.
gonna serial kill killers, you know? And
I
and
mean,
so then you
I'd
have
be
the
like, okay, dude, you got a scene. Get going, man. Just try to find somebody.
yeah.
Oh my
Um
god.
that actually sounds like a lot of fun, right?
That
Actually,
does.
to
It
be
does sound
honest,
like
it
a lot
sounds
of
like a
fun.
lot of fun. But like how creepy is it though? Like to just you got the weird guy in the
uh,
corner who, especially if he has the variant bane, he just
mhm.
like he gets hit with this compulsion. He just quietly gets up, walks away. Some plants wilt as he's walking by,
Yeah. Well,
and
there
like the
is a
camera
level
cuts
of
over,
oblivion.
and he's just sitting in the basement, like he's got like or he's sitting in like a morgue or like in his basement, and he's just like aggressively performing rituals to reanimate bodies or like summon spirits to send them after people. Like that's just how he vents.
Yeah.
That's how he deals with his frustrations.
Well,
It's
there's
kind
a
of
level
creepy.
3 oblivion power called Aura of Decay that does exactly that. So
Yeah.
basically, what you're saying with this alternate Bane, you have a
Yeah.
level 3 power that is just uncontrollably on at all times.
Ooh,
That's
that's
terrifying.
brutal. That is, man, that person likely lives in a nudist community.
Could you could you, could you imagine being a Tremere like in the old system with like Lura Flames and your level 3 is just constantly on?
Oh, that would suck.
That would suck because everything's on fire.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Like this guy, the variant Bane guy, definitely lives in a nudist community because his clothing bill has got to
oh
be
my god.
outrageous.
Okay, uh, Hecata archetypes. We got to get into this.
Did I derail you too far with that
I
one?
am broken with this. I knew this was going to be a fun episode because I love the Hecata,
Oh
but
yeah,
it has gone in directions I did not expect.
yeah.
Um,
This is definitely taking some twists. And
yeah, we are at 1 hour and 22 minutes of recording,
we got
and
8 minutes. Let's wrap this bad
yeah,
boy up.
let's try.
I'm trying to beat whoever put in the comments last week that or the during yeah last week where I told them to put their bets in the comments. I'm trying to beat them on the 2 hour bet.
Yeah, we'll try. Okay, so Hecata archetypes. The first one we have is the Reanimator, which sounds a lot like what we were just talking about. You bring them to the slab, and you and the Reanimator will get them talking again. Hell, if you want the Reanimator, we'll have them up and dancing around. A veritable Totensa. I don't know what that is.
No, I don't
Toten
either.
Toten Sands. I don't fucking know. You want to find out what the corpse knew before they died? No problem. You want them to shamble back home and point an accusatory finger at someone? You got it. The reanimator makes no judgments. Just one last thing, though. You got to leave the corpse with the reanimator when it's all said and done. You know they know just what to do with it. This is actually kind of interesting because it's describing an archetype from the outside. It's
Yeah.
not talking about you as a reanimator. It's talking about you hiring a reanimator,
Hmm.
which I'm not against. I like the concept, and I think it's
Yeah.
kind of good to have that like little change of the typical.
Yeah.
But I like the whole reanimator concept. It kind of reminds me of the D&D Honor Amongst Thieves movie when they raise the corpse to answer the questions, but they keep doing
Was
it
that
wrong.
was that a question? Yes.
Thump. I.
Uh, no, when you so a couple things really quick. Just first thing first to get the funny part out of the way.
Uh huh.
When you read, you bring him to the slab, and the reanimator will get him talking again.
Uh huh.
So we had a couple years ago. We had a really bad tinge, like just this bad like barrage of telemarketers in our area.
Okay.
And my friend,
Uh.
he started answering the phone. Like he had like three of these, and I'm not gonna say all of them because they're definitely not YouTube appropriate.
Mhm.
But the one that was the one that this made me think of
I don't know how
was
up YouTube appropriate this video is, but I don't really care
it's
at the moment.
not.
But yeah,
Yeah, no monetization probably for this one. We've
whatever.
talked a lot incest and murder.
And
But
biting my boss's face off. Anyway, go ahead.
yeah, that too. Uh, he answered the phone one day. We were sitting out at lunch. He gets a telemarketer call. He picks up the phone and as loud as he could, without like getting the attention of anyone else in the restaurant,
Hmm.
he just goes, "Mel's Mel's mortuarium. You stab him, we slab him."
Oh my god.
Instantly hung up.
Listen.
Instantly.
They hung up?
They hung up.
See, the wonderful thing that I tell people all the time is they can't hang up. As long as you don't curse at them or like as long as you're just not like an outright psychopath on the phone, you can say whatever you want to them and they have to listen.
They hung up.
Have fun with it.
Oh,
Like,
that's funny. Yeah, I always my favorite one that I do is I'll answer the phone and they'll go, "Is Silent there?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this is his office. Just hold for one moment," and then I'll just put my phone on mute and set my phone down, and I just sit and watch and see how long they sit on the phone and hold.
oh, I love having conversations about them. Or with them. I love having conversations with them about my interests. And just wait.
But
Wait until they can't take it anymore.
before, I'm gonna have to. I hate that it's me, but I'm gonna have to be the responsible one and say before we get off topic.
Yeah.
This is a again. I don't know. This has a similar feel. I'm comparing it to the Cults of the Blood God book.
Mhm.
This has a similar specificity to it that makes me feel like we're gonna see the archetypes are gonna be closer to character
Concepts, yeah.
concepts. Yeah,
Well, I think that's
and
just the style of this book, and I mean,
it
all
is.
we
It
can
is.
really do is just either accept it or hate it. Like that's really our only
I
options.
mean, you're not wrong. I mean, there's Cult of the Blood Gods.
Yeah.
For the
Well,
most part,
I meant
well,
going
it
through
does
this
have a
one.
lot. Yeah, no, through the player's guide does have several of the same concepts, so I'm
Yeah.
curious to see how they change between editions.
If this is the worst part about the player's guide, I'm not going to throw a fit.
Oh yeah, no,
Like
no,
I
you
love the player's guide so far. It's probably
oh,
one
it's
of my
so
favorite
good.
books.
It's the best book, hands down, that they've released for Vampire, without a doubt.
Hmm.
But the next one, the Forensic
Forensic
Specialist,
specialist. You want to read this one?
before before their embrace, the Specialist was always one of the first to the crime scenes, and post embrace uses their field expertise to alter evidence, misfile reports, or spin a narrative of death that protects their coteries' interests, all while coming face to face with death on a regular basis. Of late, they felt conflicting loyalties, sometimes siding with those young kindred with whom they spend many of their nights, and sometimes siding with strange family that adopted them into gruesome but powerful ranks. These last, though, make the dangerous demands and rely on guilt and familial custom, and harbor among them more than a few vampires whose ways would have the forensic specialist called up before a supervisor had the details of their behavior made it into the field report. So I feel like that concept could have just stopped after the sentence.
Yeah,
Protects
they've
their coteries'
built.
interests, all while coming face to face with death on a regular basis.
Yeah,
Period.
they really they shoved so much more into this that is it's almost like, hey, storyteller, run this. You
This,
like,
you know what's super funny is I
huh?
said that it should stop after the death on a regular basis. Period.
Hmm.
I just looked at the Cult of the Blood Gods book. That's exactly where it stopped.
Oh yeah, it's
So
the same one, but
yeah,
they just added more.
it's yeah. They just added like two paragraphs more.
Okay.
This is a fun concept. This is your Dexter
Yeah,
to an extent. This is your law abiding Dexter.
yeah.
The
I mean,
law abiding
we
in the
have a
sense that you're not
forensic
committing murder.
we have a forensic specialist Hecata in Thicker Than Water named Pete,
Oh,
who
okay.
has been there
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
he's been there forever,
Yeah, I remember
and
Pete.
he's like a he's a nice, well-mannered guy. He's got a horrible backstory. Poor kid. Yeah, no, I think this is very useful. Having a vampire who works in the morgue
Hmm.
is detrimental. Like, I think it has to happen. Like, even just to skip over, like, even just to lose the paperwork on exsanguinated body found. Like, just like
Yeah.
that's. I really just think, like, even if you're not coming out of the morgue ever, that little piece of information is always lost. I don't care
I
what happened.
I
Exsanguinated does not ever end up in the file.
Yeah, no, I love the concept of like the forensic specialist, but they're a what's the background? What's the predator type? Extortionist,
Yeah, I could see that.
and they or maybe even cleaver borderline.
Yeah,
But like they're really buddy buddy with the cops who are responsible for bringing in the bodies.
yeah.
And whenever the cops are like, "Man, this is a weird one. There's no blood in his body."
You better
The
shut up.
next, and no, no, he's like, "Oh, dude, that is weird." Like he plays along with them, right? And
Yeah,
then the next night, he gaslights the crap out of them. What are you talking about? That never happened.
yeah. That's
You
ooh,
never brought
yeah.
that body in.
Gaslighting.
Yeah, you just
Um,
gaslight your way through it.
the I would like to point out also, since we're on Hecata, the extortionist predator type is Giovanni.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
100%.
people
You
don't
get.
realize.
I'm not even going to say the next thing. The extortionist, you get either potence or dominate, and you get a whole bunch of backgrounds and flaws and stuff like that that are stereotypically Giovanni. I've
Yep.
said it multiple times. It doesn't say it anywhere in the book, but the predator types are all based off of stereotypical clan behavior.
Yeah.
And the
It's
extortionist,
coincidentally my
yeah.
favorite predator type, aside from I think the roadside killer.
What?
Oh, I said that the extortionist is probably my favorite predator type.
Oh, okay, okay. Sorry, I thought you were building up to something and then just didn't say.
Oh no, no, it's just aside from the roadside killer predator
Oh,
type,
I
it
love
didn't make
roadside
it
killer.
into the player's guide, unfortunately.
I still allow it.
I still allow
If
it.
you can find a predator type that is on like the wiki that is like allowed in games and stuff, like I love that predator type. Roadside killer, if I was a vampire, I would definitely be feeding on tourists.
Yeah,
Of course I live in Florida, so
yeah.
I'm just trying to keep it clear.
We farming out here in the Midwest, or yeah, in the Midwest.
So the next one is natural necromancer, which is what Dan of the Dead was.
Yeah,
She was a natural necromancer, having discovered a genuine interest and aptitude for death magic through exposure of dark web scenes, which is hilarious
seances.
because seances, which is funny because she ran a YouTube channel on ghost hunting.
Yeah,
Um, uh, DOA Productions. Um, ghost hunting on vlogs, exorcisms, and subsequent study of occult rituals, the natural necromancer found themselves less embraced and more blackmailed into the Hecata. Their sire plans to see whether their knack for ceremony is worth cultivating, and if they've simply served forever as a more competent than average retainer. The natural necromancer has plans, though, and doesn't intend to play backup to some second rate vampire who didn't have the initiative to learn the tricks of the trade before getting undead. Um, I think that's actually a pretty good. It's a long explanation of
yeah,
of the natural necromancer.
it's the same as what's in the cult of the blood gods,
Hmm.
but it's except it everything after whether they're fit for the embrace or they'll serve as a mortal retainer
Uh huh.
is where it stopped in cult of the blood gods. So
Okay.
again, those last little wordy like
That's so
additions,
weird that they did that, but I'm not gonna complain.
they're just trying to add some more to it, I think. But
Yeah. Would you like to
uh,
do the unscrupulous banker?
I would love to. Uh, the unscrupulous banker, a scion of the Giovanni or Duncern bloodlines of Clan Hecata, the unscrupulous banker acts as a neutral party for fellow kindred "quote unquote" investors and any number of illicit fiduciary concerns. They position themselves as being, quote unquote, just business, a perfect voice for mediation and guaranteed to protect assets due to their unswerving dedication to non involvement in the eternal struggle. The unscrupulous banker is willing to do anything to cut a profit, whether that means investing in unethical concerns, accepting laundered profits, or playing guard to investments most banks wouldn't touch, including blood, special kind, or a torpid kindred's quote unquote parcel arriving from an Ashira domain.
All
I
right.
love this concept.
It's an interesting. It's very old edition Giovanni.
I love the idea of playing the non like dedicating to non-involvement in the jihad.
Hmm.
I am not here to be involved in anything you guys have going on. I am here to fulfill my own wants and desires, and as long as you help me get those, I don't care what the task is.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I mean
like
that is kind of dancing on the edge of I'm not involved.
exactly.
Like I don't know how many times there's always the story of the Giovanni who's being questioned by the Camarilla because he sold a shipment of like automatic weapons to Sabat. And he's just like, I'm not involved. I'm not involved in your fight.
Hey, I didn't.
I just happened to drop 30, AK like I
I
just
mean,
automatic rifles at at this one
yeah,
place in exchange for money.
but this concept does kind of imply that like everybody kind of knows
Yeah.
you're not in it for any motivations. You're not in it for any like ulterior motive.
Well,
You
no,
don't
there's
have like
obviously not.
like, you are a neutral party in service of yourself.
Like if you're
And
selling guns to both sides, you're not playing
exactly, yeah.
favorites. So,
Yeah. And I would say that in all honesty, this is probably where I could envision Silent, my character for Darkness Emergent,
oh
going.
yeah.
I see him being very like because I'm very much like I don't really want to get it. It's like I want the social aspect of knowing you all.
Hmm.
I don't want to be involved in any of your drama,
Oh,
any of your
you
politics, or
and
any of your
Maquette,
nonsense.
you and Maquette are going to get along just fine.
Oh yeah, I know. That's why we get along.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to be involved in your drama. Like if you got what I need and I got what you need, I'll provide a service. But beyond that, stay out of my lane and I'll stay out of yours.
so,
Like
this road trip that we're going to end up taking up to Chicago.
yeah,
Something popped into my mind I think yesterday
okay,
is that it's going to be you, me,
mm-hmm,
uh
mm-hmm,
and two other people that I
mm-hmm.
know of right now.
As of the moment,
At the moment, there's going to be four of us in this car and we're all geeks.
yes,
We're all complete geeks to the point where like the sun goes down, we're probably all going to be in character.
yeah,
Driving to Chicago in character,
mm-hmm.
which means that you and I are going to be subject to a certain Malkavian on the way up there that has been haunting me since I got involved in By Night Studio stuff.
Are they riding with us?
Yes.
So there's gonna be
Two
two
Malkavians in
Malkavians
a small metal car, yes. Uh,
in a metal in a metal bullet on wheels, rolling at 60 miles an
See,
hour,
and
going at
I'm sitting
75
there
miles an hour.
I'm sitting there trying to think of the narrative, and I'm not going to say the person's name, but I will say the character's name so that like they'll know that I'm talking about them if they watch this. But it's I okay, so I met this character at the last Gen Con.
Mm-hmm.
We have together, me and this player have decided that like the stuff that happened at the Gen Con in our little personal storyline happens after what happened at Darkness Emergent,
Okay,
even though we played it, several months beforehand.
sure.
And basically, her character remembers everything that happened already, or everything that's going to happen, because she's got like prophetic stuff. She
Yeah.
sees the future. So when we were playing at Darkness Emergent, and I'm playing my 6-month-old Zemitzi, she came up and started talking to me about stuff that we had already agreed had not happened yet.
I love that.
So I automatically in character freaked out by this person, went, that's nice, bye, and just left. I have a feeling that the way that my character is going to end up actually getting to know this character, which is named Trinity, is picking up a hitchhiking Malkavian on the way to Chicago.
That's awesome.
That's terrifying
That's
because
so
I
fun.
know who Trinity is.
That's you know what makes this more terrifying? I
Oh.
didn't think here's what makes this more terrifying.
Mm.
Silent doesn't know he's a Malkavian.
Yeah,
He thinks he's just a caitiff. He
yeah.
doesn't think he has any clan like
I'm I'm
all of his Malkavian stuff
pretty
is
sure.
self delusional. Like he thinks it's all just natural wit and inspiration.
Yeah,
It's so subtle for him he doesn't notice it.
I'm pretty sure that Trinity has that whole thing where she gets pings from other Malkavians. So that might be how you find out.
This is gonna that is I wasn't ready for this.
Is anybody ever really ready for it?
No, I wasn't
All
ready
right.
to play a Malkavian, but this lovely community decided it was time.
Speaking of this lovely community, that's everything in the book about the Hecata,
Yep.
and we're not hitting 2 hours, hopefully. Um,
A
so, what are your final thoughts on Clan
like
Hecata?
I can't summarize a single sentence. I could probably push us to 2 hours just saying everything I want to say, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
Um, the Hecata are at best they are a fascinating, multifaceted clan with just so much culture, lore, and flavor that
Mm-hmm.
you can just milk for all kinds of fun. At their worst, they're so good at keeping to themselves you don't even notice they're there.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's on purpose.
Oh
I
yeah, they
think
don't
that
want to be
like
noticed.
yeah, like my opinion of them is they're great when I want to deal with them, but
Yeah.
they're just there and kind of whatever if I don't feel
Mm.
like it. I think that's the way they're intended to be.
That's how they survive.
Yeah, yeah, it's like they're great when you need something from them or they have something you want, but otherwise,
Yeah.
they just exist. And that's still at the end of the day. Like I've had some moments where I've like really resonated with them,
Hmm.
obviously, because of the themes that they touch on of death and passing and the afterlife and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, but they, other than that, yeah, I don't really have like super strong feelings about them. I think they're great. I think if anybody is like I said earlier, if you're going through something, just make a character and see if that helps. It helped me, you know.
Yeah. No, I can see that.
I think you don't even have to play the character. Just you could like I'll be more specific on what I did. I made a character in memory of the person that was
Mm.
dying, and it just felt better to have that character. I've never played them. I probably never will play them, but having the character made me feel better.
Yeah.
Um, but then you can also like you want to get your like Italian mafia, like Godfather. How did I forget to mention the Godfather halfway through this video?
I was
I don't know how I
actually
made it.
I
I
wanted to
don't know
see
how
how long we
I
could
wanted
go without mentioning it, but
I
one
wanted to
hour,
mention it.
42 minutes, and 43 seconds.
I wanted to mention it like halfway through our conversation, and I just totally forgot.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to play the Godfather, come to me in my Elysium, whatever. Uh,
What the hell
they,
was that?
I know it's terrible. I can't do the Godfather. Meh. Yeah, yeah, your
It
brother
turned into
Tony's.
like it turned into overweight Skeletor for a second there. Like, meh.
I
Uh,
I need a T-shirt of just a fat Skeletor, where it's like he obviously has no skin or meat. It's just the bones are fat. Like he has really deep.
no, there is
Yes,
no. There's a meme with him standing there in like tidy whities and holding a sandwich, and he's got. He,
that just that killed me. I
uh,
am dead now.
I'll see if I can
That's
find that and I'll send that to you later.
yeah,
I'm not
that's
putting
funny.
that up here. That does not need to be in this channel ever. But I will find it and I send it to you.
But yeah, no, I mean, if you want to get your therapy on and face the dark, the
Yeah.
face the dark part of life is that life ends. They're great for that. If you want to play the mafioso and mafia enforcer, mafia don, whatever you want to do involving organized crime, they're great for that.
Yeah.
You want to just play like an independent, like Dan of the Dead. You want to play a ghost hunter. Like there's a YouTube channel that I watched where they like got into some really creepy stuff, and I had to quit watching it because it was freaking me out. It was too real, my guy. It was way too real. Um, they're fun. That's a fun channel though. If you want to do something like that, or if you want to just like, if you want to play, I love the idea of the like Western Undertaker
Yeah.
still kicking it in the
Uh,
mortal world. The modern world. That would be fun too.
I just
There's so much you can do with
I
them.
just see a
So have fun with
guy.
it.
I just see a guy with a bad night vision camera walking around, going, "What's up, demons? It's me, your boy."
I love that. There's a song that has that. That was my Wi-Fi. The name of my hotspot for like 2 years was "Hey there, demons, it's me, your boy." But yeah, that's
Uh,
pretty much my final thoughts on the Hecata. They're great. I think V5 has done the most work for them of
yeah,
any edition.
I'm excited to see what's going to happen in 4 years.
Yeah,
Like there has to be some kind of update within the next 4 years about the promise. Because it's called the promise of 1528. So in 2028, it's going to be 500 years. And either something has to come out that goes, yeah, that rumor about the promise ending was just that, a rumor, or it needs to end and there's going to be something that happens. They're either going to have to join the Camarilla, or they're going to have to join the Anarchs, or they're going to end up getting split down the middle, and we're going to get half the bloodlines in the Cam and half the bloodlines in the Anarchs. Like something is going to happen, and I'm just curious to see what it's going to be.
I mean, or they could strike a new one.
Strike a new one, just like
Yeah, strike a new,
a
like a
new
new,
sect.
a new agreement.
Oh yeah, that's true. I guess
Or they could just say, "Screw your
we've
agreement," and
decided
just.
to renew it. So everything that we've talked about for the last 2 years means nothing.
I mean, or they could just be like, "Screw it. Like we have our wealth, we have our power, we have our cities. Take them if you think you can, but
Yeah,
good luck."
that's true. I mean, having the Hecata be the new like Camarilla antagonist would
It's
be
like, hey,
interesting.
you know what's really hard? Trying to take down an enemy faction stronghold. You know what's harder? Trying to take down an enemy faction stronghold that's defended by zombies and ghosts that can hit
That's
you and you
true.
can't hit them.
I believe
You know,
I
like,
believe the Giovanni stronghold in Venice. Is it Venice? Yes,
that
it's
sounds right.
Venice. Is
No,
called the
wait,
it's called the
wasn't
Mausoleum.
wasn't wasn't Venice the what was the Tremere one?
Vienna.
Vienna. Okay, yeah, so it's Venice.
Yeah, the Hecata stronghold is in Venice, and it's called the Mausoleum, and it's basically a giant haunted concrete block.
Yeah,
So yeah, let's see if anybody can actually get into that place. I guess.
wish them the best.
All right, what
I mean,
is the challenge this week?
ooh, the challenge this week. Uh, well, I think I put a pretty heavy challenge on them last week.
Yeah,
So I have two different options here. I can keep laying on the heavy challenge, or I can give them a break. I'll let you choose.
they had a break.
They did have a
They
break.
had a
You're
break.
right.
They had a break 2 weeks
You're
ago because we didn't put anything out because I needed a break.
right. I also need a break. All right then. So we're gonna keep laying them on then.
Ugh.
All right. So the challenge this week, I am. I want something for specific from the community this week. Less about the Hakata necessarily, and more about the most interesting relationship that the Hakata can have with an entity in the afterlife.
Mm,
Whether that is a corpse that they have some attachment to and they revere for whatever reason,
mm,
or if this is the relationship of someone that they lost and have summoned back, or someone they killed and summoned
yeah.
back.
Now
I
the
want to hear
heart.
some interesting Giovanni or interesting Hakata Wraith like character concept duo thing kind of going
Okay.
on.
That's
That
interesting.
makes sense.
I
Yeah.
like that a lot. There's actually the first level of the Harbingers of Usher lore sheet.
Usher.
Usher, yeah, Usher, Usher. I don't need to know.
Usher. Hey,
Why can't it
hey.
just be Harbingers of Skulls still? Anyway, the the first point of that lore sheet, one of the things that it does is it lets you have a corpse
Yep.
as a touchstone.
Yep.
So that's
So yeah,
that's pretty interesting.
the challenge can be using whatever's in the player's guide, any of the lore sheets, any of that stuff, or just an interesting concept, even if there's not necessarily mechanics to represent it, between a character and a unique relationship that they have with something involving death or
Hmm.
someone who is dead. That's the
That's
I want to hear
interesting.
some. I want to hear some interesting. I'm thinking that each week the challenges are going to be more involved around like because I'm big on character concepts.
Hmm.
And so I want to start like provoking less about like, hey, what's your favorite thing, and start provoking more like, hey, what's an interesting concept? Like, what's an interesting thing that you guys
That's a good
that's
idea. I like that.
original or unique to you that you've come up with or you thought of, or maybe you heard it from somewhere and you just want to like share it along. Like,
Yeah.
I just want to hear more concepts and get more like creative energies kind of flowing. So
Okay.
that's the challenge for this week.
Nice. I
We're
like
gonna
it.
move on to promotions.
Yes, yes. What do you have anything for personal self
Um,
promotion?
Not anything new. For anyone who's just for whatever reason tuning in on this episode, I am Silent Comedy.
What are
I
you
am
doing if
the
this is your first episode? Go back and
yeah.
watch
Like,
number
what are you
one.
doing? Go call your screenwriter. Get out of here. Um, I am I am Silent Comedy. I am the Our World of Darkness community manager for Maquette, as well as the sole Discord admin at the time.
Hmm.
Um, I am also a like creative consultant for writing characters, settings, stories, plot lines. If it involves creative thinking and coming up with interesting and deep narrative ideas, I'm your guy. You can request my services. Um, I can, or it goes anything from helping you flesh out a character to helping you structure giving you the tools and structures needed to help you better write stories for your group and your players. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than that, I'm going to be at Darkness Emergent on June 6th through 9th in Chicago, Illinois, playing the unknowing Malkavian Silent, who is apparently now going to be riding in a car with another Malkavian he's going to have some painful realizations likely before he
Uh,
ever even gets to Chicago.
yeah, knowing Trinity, you're going to be just shaking back and forth in the fetal position on the floor of my car.
I won't fit in the floor of your car. Let's be honest.
Okay.
But I think that's it for me, man. I think like I'm so stoked
Yeah.
to be
No,
back
I'm
doing
super
this.
excited. I am Voivodemekhet. I will also be at Darkness Emergent playing a fictionalized version of myself and getting into a lot of trouble and somehow walking out clean on the other side. Um, and I guess the thing that I really want to talk about today, not that the majority of the people who are in our community can really do anything, I just kind of want to, I'm giddy about it, I want to talk about it, is on July 6th. Is the first night of the LARP that I will be hosting in Cape Coral, Florida, which will be a once a month thing. It's really kind of funny. It's being played in Cape Coral, but it's set in Fort Myers. Uh, which is going to be Fort Myers by night, City of Palms, and I've got so many amazing character concepts coming through, and right now the city looks like it's going to be mostly Toreador, Malkavian, Hecata, and Ministry. So I'm not really sure what to do with that, but like the story at least seems like it's going to be flowing along pretty well, and I'm super excited to basically get my big boy storyteller pants back on and start doing LARP for a mass amount of people instead of just like my comfort zone of like six six players. Um, so yeah, that's really all I got to say. Is I'm just excited about my LARP, and I've got pamphlets that just came in, and
Pamphlet.
I made pamphlets. I I made
just
pamphlets. They were
just
edited and they looked professional, and there's like character creation inserts inside of them,
that's
and
cool.
like yeah, they're awesome, and I'm so
The way
super
you said
stoked.
pamphlets made me think
Pamphlets.
of the what's the guy's name who was imitating Eminem rapping? Like a stamina flame, hammer, hammer. That movie. Pamphlets.
All right.
Go wait a minute,
Well,
pamphlets.
we have gone into stupid territory now, so it
Yeah,
is time to it's time to say goodbye to all of our
yeah.
friends out there at the Mickey Mouse
It's been a good
Clubhouse.
one, man.
Uh,
What are
uh,
we on today, dude? We've been on one.
what?
I said, what are we on today? Because we have definitely been on
I
one
don't
all
know.
day.
I'm super excited to be working again. I haven't been able
Yeah.
to, and I've to be 100% honest to everybody, I told you I've been suffering from like really bad writer's block. But talking about this is unscripted. This is just us
Oh
going
yeah,
off and
no, this
being
is off the
stupid and
cuff.
fun. But next week, and I'm talking to Jason Black specifically. We're doing La Sombra. he
Oh, and
he has been bothering me since like episode 2. When are you doing La Sombra? It's like, dude, it's alphabetical, or no, it's not alphabetical. It's by book order.
book
Stop
order.
asking me. Stop asking me. But yeah, no, he's going to be super excited that next week we are handling Clan La Sombra, the Clan of Shadows, and
Shout out to my boy Riley. He's also been waiting
yeah,
to play or to hear the La Sombra episode.
hell yeah.
So
I think a lot of people have been actually.
they have a lot. It's probably been the most requested clan people have asked me about. It's like, when you're going to do La Sombra? I'm like, book order,
I think
guys.
it's interesting that we're doing the Oblivion wielders back to back.
Yeah, that's how they're in the book, man.
Yeah.
We didn't really touch on Oblivion in this video.
Well, I mean, we talked about Oblivion and what it was and how it
Sure,
exists and all
sure.
that. But other than that, I think this is a good place to call it. Maybe we'll do Tap in the Vein and attack the disciplines specifically at some time in a later date. But on that, I will see everybody at Darkness Emergent. And I will see everybody in the next video also. So go ahead and drop your catchphrase and let's get going.
Droppeth that sicketh outro.
What the hell?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm on
All
one.
right, I'm gonna cool off from this one. All right, bye.